This girl is a famous young writer. She specializes in writing horror works. Her latest book is called Mary Ann, the Evil Spirit. This work is currently at the top of the sales revenue. This helps Emma gain a fan base along with a huge amount of money. That day at a book signing event, Emma suddenly met Camille. The two used to be close friends when they were young, but now they are no longer in contact. Camille worriedly announced that her mother is not normal now. Camille's mother is like being controlled by someone and always calls herself Mary Ann. At night, Camille's mother does not sleep, but stands in front of Camille's room door and stares at her. Moreover, Camille's mother also cruelly tortures Camille, causing her body to be full of wounds. Before leaving, Camille gave Emma a cloth bag containing her mother's teeth and hair. Camille cried, claiming that Emma was the one who caused everything. Because Emma wrote a novel about Mary Ann, Camille's mother went crazy. Emma didn't think much of Camille's words at first and thought they were just lies. But that night, when Emma was sleeping with her boyfriend, she suddenly heard a strange noise outside the hallway. The door to the room slowly opened. Emma tried to wake her boyfriend up, but he was still fast asleep. At this time, a hand came up from under the bed, followed by Camille's mother's scary face. Camille's mother told Emma to go back to hometown quickly. "I really wanted to see you again." Emma woke up with a start and realized it was just a dream. The next morning, Emma went to work as usual. She thought the strange things had ended, but suddenly, Camille appeared again. Camille stood upstairs and said that if Emma did not return to her hometown, Mary Ann would come and kill Emma's parents. As soon as Camille finished speaking, she jumped down and left this world. Emma was terrified when she saw everything. Emma was afraid that her parents would be in danger, so she decided to drive back to her hometown. She also brought her assistant along. After more than half a day of traveling, they finally arrived. It was a small coastal town, isolated from the outside world. There was a huge seashore. It had been a long time since Emma had returned. When she arrived, Emma met the priest at the church again. He also brought a dog. It kept barking at Emma. The priest wanted to chase Emma out of town. He said that no one would welcome her back here. Emma didn't care much after hearing that. She and her assistant still drove to Camille's house and informed Camille's mother about Camille's death. Camille's mother did not show any regret or sadness when she heard the news of her daughter's death. On the contrary, she happily invited the two of them into the house for tea. Emma walked inside and saw that the house was very messy and the atmosphere was extremely gloomy. Camille's mother kept asking Emma about the woman named Mary Ann in her novel. However, Emma said that she would stop writing the novel. Camille's mother was extremely angry after hearing this and loudly demanded that Emma continue writing the novel if she did not want her loved ones to suffer. Emma was extremely worried when she heard these words. She held the female assistant's hand and ran out of Camille's mother's house. Then she drove to her parents' house to check on the situation. As soon as Emma stepped onto the porch, she discovered a bloody cloth bag hanging right in front of the door. Then Emma met her parents again. They were very happy that their daughter had returned home after a long time. However, Emma was distant. She had not been close to her parents for a long time. She planned to stay here for only one night and return to the city the next morning. However, late that night, when the two were sleeping, the female assistant suddenly wanted to go to the bathroom. While the female assistant was sitting in the toilet, there was a sudden knock on the door outside. The female assistant was scared and slowly walked out. Suddenly, Emma's father rushed out from somewhere and grabbed the female assistant tightly. His face looked like someone was controlling him. The female assistant was extremely panicked and could only close her eyes. When she looked back, she found Emma in front of her. Then Emma ran out into the yard and saw her parents walking into the woods. Emma tried to chase after them, but quickly lost track of them. Meanwhile, the female assistant was in the house, about to call the police, when she suddenly discovered the old woman she had just met in the afternoon, hiding behind the door. The old woman had a scary smile that made her extremely scared. The next day, the police sent an inspector to investigate the disappearance of Emma's parents. His name was Ronan. While they were talking, Emma suddenly discovered a cloth bag hanging right in front of the door. She felt strange because she was the one who had taken it down yesterday. Ronan then took the cloth bag away for the convenience of the investigation. Ronan brought it to a friend of his, who was also a psychic. After observing the bag, the friend was scared and said that it was a cursed object used to harm others. Emma thought that the old lady yesterday was related to her parents' disappearance, so she decided to go to the old lady's house to investigate, despite the assistant's attempts to dissuade her. However, Emma waited until the old lady left and then immediately broke the door and sneaked into the house. After a while of searching, Emma discovered photos of Camille, but her face was slashed. They then found a locked room inside. Emma guessed that the old lady was hiding something in there. However, before they could break the door, the old lady suddenly returned. The old lady did not seem surprised to see Emma there. The old lady then took a knife and cut her own arm and threatened Emma to continue writing the novel or she would cut off her own arm. Emma was extremely scared and quickly ran away from the house. Not knowing where to find her parents, Emma went to the beach to sit alone. There she unexpectedly met her old friends. The girl's name is Aurore, the black guy is Sebai, the two brothers Tonio and Arnaud. They used to be very close classmates. When they saw Emma, everyone was happy and welcomed her back. They then drank together to mourn the death of their friend Camille in the group. That night, Emma returned home drunk. She suddenly saw scary visions of that mysterious old woman. The old woman kept reminding Emma to quickly continue writing the novel. Emma thought that her parents' disappearance had something to do with it. She tried to listen to the old woman's words. She opened her laptop and started writing the next chapters of the story, not knowing that this would plunge the entire town into a nightmare with no way out. The next morning, the female assistant woke up and went out to the yard to find that Emma's mother had returned. However, Emma's mother's attitude was very strange. Emma's mother didn't say anything and just went back to her room alone. Emma thought that her mother was just in shock, so she didn't want to bother her mother. That night, Emma received an invitation from Sebai in the group to invite her to dinner. Sebai currently had a wife and 2 children. However, while the meal was taking place, Sebai's wife suddenly ran in a panic and said that their eldest son had gone missing. The children of the neighbor's family were also in the same situation. They quickly got in the car and went to look for him. Sebai said that strange things had also happened in town this morning. A herd of cows jumped into the sea for no apparent reason and left this world by themselves. Emma was stunned when she heard that. All the details she had written in the latest chapter last night had now come true. If the story was true, then the children were gathering at the lighthouse to left the worlds by themselves. They quickly drove there. When they arrived, they discovered a horrifying scene. The children were struggling in despair. Fortunately, they were discovered in time, so their lives were not in danger. At this moment, Emma completely believed the old woman's words, that everything she wrote in the novel had come true. The more Emma wrote about Marianne, the more Marianne power would increase. Thinking of this, Emma decided to end this matter herself. According to what was written in the book, Marianne was very afraid of holy water and things related to Christianity, so Emma went to the church in town to borrow a cross and some bottles of holy water, then went straight to the old woman's house. When she just came out, Emma rushed over and knocked her out. Then Emma tied her up and placed her on the sofa. Emma then began the exorcism ritual. Emma poured holy water on the old woman, causing her to scream in pain. Not stopping there, Emma also took the cross and hit her on the head, causing her to bleed profusely. However, the old woman did not show any pain. On the contrary, the old woman threatened that Emma would pay for what she had done. Meanwhile, Father Ronan had someone check Emma's mother's body. They found a chemical scent in her fingernails, which was only found in the old laboratories in town. Ronan quickly went there, and as soon as he entered the laboratory, he suddenly heard a strange noise nearby. Ronan arrived and found Emma's father there. He was sitting motionless on his knees, with many bloody cloth bags on top. Emma's father was quickly taken to the hospital. Emma heard the news and rushed over. Fortunately, her father was not seriously injured. Emma was extremely happy and planned to go home to tell her mother the news. However, when she arrived, she discovered that the steps were covered in blood. Emma ran inside in panic and saw that her mother was dead. The culprit was none other than that strange old woman. The old woman seemed extremely delighted and laughed wildly. Emma was so angry that she rushed over to strangle the old woman. After a while, the female assistant suddenly ran over to stop her. Emma looked back and discovered that the old woman had stopped breathing. The female assistant tried to use first aid, but the old woman's face suddenly turned into the witch Marianne, causing the female assistant to fall down the stairs in shock. A white smoke then came out of the old woman's mouth. The next day, the old woman was arrested for murder, and her eyes were also strangely blind. The old woman seemed to have regained consciousness. The old woman was scared and said that she was possessed by the witch Marianne, causing her to do such terrible things. Marianne would never leave without results, and the old woman's eyes were also taken by the witch. But now, Marianne had possessed another person. What Emma needed to do was to find and destroy the witch before it was too late. However, because her mother had just passed away, and her father and the female assistant were unconscious in the hospital, Emma was completely devastated. She was extremely miserable and could do nothing else. Her close friends saw this and tried to encourage and comfort Emma. Meanwhile, Inspector Ronan went to the old woman's house to search. They broke the door of the secret room and went inside to find the old woman's husband lying motionless. His body was covered with wounds, as if he had been tortured. In addition to the bloody cloth bags, there were also strange drawings of symbols. Ronan then asked his friend to investigate and learned that the symbol represented the demon Beleth, one of the 85 demon kings of Solomon. It was extremely evil and brutal. His friend advised Ronan to give up this case. However, Ronan was still determined to find out the truth. After researching information online, Ronan learned that Marianne was a woman who lived in the Middle Ages. Her life was extremely unhappy. Her parents and children all died of different diseases. In desperation, Marianne decided to marry the demon king Beleth to gain strength and power. After being discovered, she was captured and hanged by the villagers. Before her death, Marianne swore to haunt all the villagers until their descendants. At this time, strange things began to happen in town. Arnaud, a friend in the group, was working alone at the port that night when he suddenly heard a strange noise behind him. Arnaud looked around to check, but saw no one. Suddenly, a demon rushed over. Meanwhile, Aurore, a friend, was alone in her room when she suddenly heard a noise under the bed. Aurore slowly looked down in fear and found her younger sister, who had died many years ago there. Her younger sister said that everything that happened in this town was Emma's fault. At this time, a hand suddenly appeared on Aurore's head, causing her to panic. Meanwhile, Sibai's wife had just successfully given birth to a baby boy. But when they went to the waiting room to check, they found that the baby had disappeared. Instead, in the cradle was a cloth bag with creepy hairs. It seemed to signal that the witch Marianne had returned. The reason why Emma's group of friends kept encountering such strange things. Let's go back many years ago. Emma was still a high school student at that time. She and her group of friends had a close relationship. They went everywhere together. The story began when Emma told her group of friends that recently she had been having nightmares about a woman named Marianne. Everyone thought that Marianne wanted to send some kind of message. Camille in the group at that time was someone who was very interested in researching spiritual matters, so she suggested that the group would use the Ouija board to summon Marianne. The purpose was to see what Marianne was hoping for. So the 5 friends sneaked into the school at midnight. They sat around each other. Camille asked everyone to hold hands. Then Camille continued to chant strange spells. Suddenly, Emma screamed loudly, pointing to the corner of the room and saying that Marianne was standing there. The group looked in the direction Emma pointed, but saw no one. It seemed that only Emma could see the witch. In the blink of an eye, she appeared next to Emma. Emma immediately had a seizure. She was possessed by the witch. Marianne was angry because she was summoned by a group of children. Marianne immediately swore that she would kill each and every one of them. Everyone was extremely scared when they heard this. Aurore thought that Emma had played a trick to scare them. Because she was suspicious, the next day after school, Emma returned to the school alone to check. When she arrived, she found that Aurore's younger sister was still in class and had not returned home yet. When the little girl saw Emma, she was delighted and asked Emma to play hide and seek with her. The little girl was extremely clever, hiding in a refrigerator while Emma went around looking for her. However, the little girl kept appearing and disappearing, making it impossible for Emma to catch up. Emma did not know that it was just an illusion. The little girl was in danger now. She kept banging on the door trying to get out, but she could not open it. When she turned the flashlight to the side, a terrifying face suddenly appeared right next to her. After a while, Emma searched everywhere but could not find the little girl. When Emma tried to open the refrigerator, she was horrified to discover that the little girl had frozen to death. Because she was afraid of being implicated, Emma hid this and went home alone. In the following days, she only dared to stay at home and could not dare go out. Emma kept seeing hallucinations about that girl. Emma felt that the girl was always around her. Because she could not bear it, Emma went to church and confessed everything to the priest. Emma also told about the woman named Marianne and the night the group summoned her. After listening, the priest advised Emma to leave this town and never come back if she did not want her parents and relatives around her to be in trouble. Although Emma was very regretful, for the safety of everyone, she listened to the priest. Emma then began to rebel. She smashed church furniture and was arrested by the police, all for the purpose of leaving town. Because of that, Emma's relationship with her close friends and family became worse. No one knew the truth behind what she had to bear. After Emma left, everything in town gradually returned to normal. However, Emma's return recently caused the witch's curse to return once again. Returning to the present, Ronan, after investigating strange cases that had occurred all over the world, he knew that the details of these murders were somehow identical to the details in Emma's book. This proved that the witch Marianne was still clinging to her and making the things she wrote in the book come true. Emma was extremely sad when she learned that she was the one who caused the horrific murders. Bai and the others tried to cheer Emma up. They thought that the thing to do now was to find a way to break the curse. Emma suddenly thought of a plan, which was to try to kill Marianne in her own novel, to see if it would happen in real life. However, as soon as she wrote a few words, the surrounding scene immediately changed. Emma saw terrifying illusions that terrified her. She woke up with a start and everything around her had returned to normal. The lines she had just written had also disappeared. It seemed that Marianne had used power to prevent Emma from writing what she wanted. Ronan then said that he had his own plan. That night, Ronan took his friends to the old school. Ronan planned to perform the witch summoning ritual again. This time, the purpose was to lure her out, then trap Marianne's soul in a dog. The five of them then sat in a circle and held hands. Ronan began to recite the spell. At this time in the hospital, the female assistant lying on the bed suddenly sat up. Her whole body was floating in the air. A white smoke came out of the assistant's mouth. It turned out that the witch Marianne had possessed the assistant all this time without anyone knowing. Meanwhile, Emma's group, after performing the ritual for a while and nothing happened, decided to take a break and then continue. Everyone went outside to get some fresh air. Ronan, who was sitting alone in the room, suddenly heard a noise behind him. He used the mirror to reflect and discovered that the witch Marianne had been standing there for a while. Hearing the screams, everyone outside ran in, but it was too late. Ronan was now possessed by the witch Marianne. Ronan just pulled out his gun and left the world by himself in front of 5 people. They were extremely terrified, but couldn't do anything. After killing Ronan, the witch continued to leave his body. Emma's group saw this and ran away in fear. When they got outside, the group discovered that the dog they brought had been unchained. When it saw everyone, it immediately rushed to attack. The group tried to run away in different directions. After Aurora ran into the classroom, she discovered the toy of her dead younger sister. At this time, the little girl was lying in the middle of the room. Suddenly, a voice came from the doll, causing the 2 people to panic and run down to hide under the table. Suddenly, the ghost of her younger sister Aurora appeared in front of her and said that everything was Emma's fault. The little girl also recounted what happened on the day they played hide and seek. Aurora was shocked when she learned the truth. Meanwhile, Tonio walked for a while and got lost on the beach. Here, Tonio saw Arnaud, who had gone missing a few days ago. Arnaud said that he was trapped by Marianne's spirit and could not return. The only way to rescue Arnaud was for Emma to continue writing the novel. Everything now focused on Emma. After meeting Aurora again, Emma confessed all her past sins. However, Aurora still refused to forgive her. Tonio still held a gun and pointed it at Emma, forcing her to continue writing the novel. Facing the pressure from her friends, Emma still refused to give up. Emma said that I would definitely not let the witch achieve her goal. I would think of another way to defeat the witch. Seeing Emma's attitude and determination, Tonio finally lowered his gun, but suddenly he was pulled into the air by some force and disappeared. When Tonio woke up, he found himself lying on the lighthouse. In front of Tonio was Arnaud, who had gone missing a few days ago. Before Tonio could be happy, he quickly realized that it was just a lifeless body. Arnaud had been murdered by the witch Marianne, and now Tonio was the next target. The next morning, only 3 people returned to town, but no one knew that the witch Marianne was still hiding in the body of one of them. Emma then returned home. She went to bed and fell asleep because she was tired. Suddenly, she heard a noise downstairs. When Emma went downstairs to check, she found that it was the priest. When he saw Emma, he immediately pointed pointed the cross at Emma's face. She tried to fight back, but was immediately hit hard in the face by the priest, causing her to bleed. Emma did not understand what was happening, so she quickly ran back to her room, holding a gun and pointing it at the priest. The priest said that the witch Marianne had now possessed her. Emma was startled to realize that the thing the priest was holding in his hand was holy water. The blood stains on Emma's face had also disappeared. At this moment, the witch suddenly appeared and took control of Emma's body. She then shot and seriously injured the priest. Marianne controlled Emma's body and walked out into the yard. When she reached the old warehouse, Emma broke the house with her bare hands. A deep hole was revealed underneath. That was Marianne's old grave. Emma slowly moved her hand down, where the witch's hand also appeared. After all, Emma finally summoned Marianne back from hell. Now Emma was completely controlled by Marianne. After that, Emma woke up and saw that Marianne was holding her hand and leading her into another dimension. It seemed that it was the path straight to hell. Meanwhile, her friend Aurora seemed to have a bad feeling, so she immediately ran to Emma's house. When she arrived at the door, Aurora was horrified to see the witch Marianne in her true form. She was holding Emma's hand and holding a gun to Emma's head. Just as Marianne was about to pull the trigger, Aurora's scream awakened Emma's mind and helped her escape the witch's illusion. Just in time, the bullet missed her. Thanks to that, Emma narrowly escaped death. The witch Marianne then disappeared. However, the two did not know that the person who had actually defeated Marianne was the priest. Although he was seriously injured, he still tried to crawl out. The priest went to the witch's grave and poured gasoline underneath, intending to set it on fire. But suddenly Marianne appeared and pulled the priest down the hole. Here Marianne continuously used tricks to scare the priest. He knew that he could not survive, so he decided to sacrifice himself. He burned himself along with the grave to end this terrible curse. The fire then flared up and burned everything, ending the curse of the witch Marianne. Many days later, Emma finally woke up in the hospital. Aurora was always by her side to take care of her. After all, Aurora forgave and overlooked Emma's previous mistakes. The two became good friends again. Sebai also found his missing child a few days ago. Emma's father and the female assistant also returned to normal. The movie ends here. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye and see you again in the next videos.